what is this? So it was impossible. It was impossible. It was not, he told me to go on 50 dates with other people. Like, he was like not interested. Well, he was interested, but it wasn't going to work. And so I would manifest this. And I didn't want to be manipulative. I didn't want to try and control him. I didn't want to be like witchcraft kind of stuff, you know, trying to control someone and manipulate them. Then I'll be like, I am so grateful that Troy Roush, or someone better than Troy Roush, if you have someone better for me, is crazy in love with me, marries me, and is faithful to me till the day I die. And that became my manifestation. It was like, and I didn't hardly ever talk to him, but there was something that felt that way. And sure enough, it took a year of us being, you know, pen pals. And then we dated for a year and then got married, and we've been married for almost 5 years. And I love him still from, you know, he's a human and he messes up. He's a guy like all of them, but there's just something different there. And so I've learned to kind of follow my energy and follow that intuition and trust it a little bit more. And then when things get hard and I struggle and I forget that I have this ability, that we all have this ability, I usually I'm pretty upset over something. I let it get too far down the negative trail. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can course correct this. I can change this. I just have to trust and get in the right vibe. And I have learned also from studying the Enneagram and listening to Dr. Joe and reading books about this. Another good book is called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel-Shinn. I believe that's how you say it. It's old. It's really, really old. And some of the stuff is like culturally, like, I wouldn't say that now, but you take the meat, spit out the bones, because she also teaches you the power of it's your energy. It's your vibe. It's not just your thoughts and your words. It's like what you believe in your core is how you create it. And so anyways,
Stacy, yeah. That book I think was written in 1925.
Yes.
And I am so fascinated because I remember when The Secret came out, I think in 2007, people were really trashing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, law of attraction isn't anything, and you know, all these negative things. And I'm like, this book was written in 1925. and it's the same verbiage.
It's true.
And it is just the meat. I mean, it is bare bone minimum, do this and.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love some of the affirmations she has in there. I actually speak them over my boys. Like, the divine in my children has full potential and full exposure and full expression is the word in their life. So the divine in my kids has full expression. And I do it to myself sometimes too. Today, the divine in me is going to have full expression. If I don't feel confident about what I'm doing, or if I feel like I'm, you know, I just know there's a part of me that's tapped into infinite intelligence that put me in this body that feels so inferior and small in this world. And if I can tap into that greatness, I can do whatever it is I need to do. It's remembering that. So another one, and this is interesting, is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And he has a little poem in that book that says, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. It gives you what you ask, but once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. When I read it, it haunted me. I read it years and years and years ago. I can't even remember my phone number. I can't even remember my kid's name, but I can remember that poem because it woke part of me up. Like, I don't have to settle. It doesn't have to be this way. And I feel like this isn't just something for our personal lives. Yeah. I feel like this is something for us as we do these things and share this information with people and bring healing to ourselves and our families and our friends, that we're going to end up, and this is maybe my delusional Enneagram 4 mentality, but I believe we can bring healing to this world. I believe eventually we can evolve as a species enough to create win-win situations for everyone. And I know it seems impossible when you turn on the news, but I just can't help that something in my knower knows it's possible.
Well, I have a solution for that.
Yeah.
Don't turn on the news.
Exactly.
That is the solution. I agree with you. I think we can. I think we have the ability to evolve.
Yes.
I do. Now, whether we do or not is another story.
So discussion.
Anything she said so far, do you have questions about, Janice? I wrote down.
I'm writing down things.
Yeah.
As she goes.
Yeah, I wrote down tons. Go ahead and you start and ask her some things.
Okay. You talked about intentionally practicing, and in reviewing the book, that The Magic of Manifesting, he talks about doing it on a daily basis. Now, you mentioned a journal, and so I'm wondering if that's the way you used your intentional practice. And then my question is how often?
Okay, so a journal is what I do when I need to get the worry and fear and doubt out of me.
Okay.
And then after I do the journaling, it depends on how important it is, whatever the issue is, how front and center I want to keep it. Sometimes it becomes a reminder on my phone. Like I'll pop it up every day at 10 o'clock or whatever. So I speak and I try and like make myself stop what I'm doing and feel for just a second, because I really want it. Maybe my kid getting a job at college, or maybe the grandbaby being healthy, or, whatever's going on at the time. But, laying in bed, I have a magnetic board up next to my bed, and I put little pictures of things to trigger, or sometimes I put words down I'm so grateful for. Like with my boys, I have the divine has full expression in their lives. On the board, when I look up in the morning, I see the picture of my boys and I see that quote. And so I just think it and just hold it and just love my boys for a second, and then kind of wake up before you grab the phone, before you get the coffee, before you take the dog out. Just take 2 minutes and think about what you really want and what you're going to do that day and what you want that day to be like and look like, and making it's not about the stuff. It's about enjoying. It's about enjoying this journey and really doing or being what makes your soul light up. And then I'm talking about, that part in here where, like, when you feel joy or when you feel compassion or empathy, like something in you lights up, that is the feeling I go for every day. And sometimes, like yesterday, I had come back from my husband's farm, and there's a lot going on there. It's really stressful. And I was in a lower vibe. So I made myself go for a walk to like be in nature and raise my energy. And there was a snail crossing the walking trail. And for some reason, that just made me so happy. And so, like, whatever it is, whether it be, looking at a tree, watching a bird, laughing at a joke, talking to your friend, whatever it is, seeing a snail, like what fascinates you and makes you in awe of being in your body on this planet at this time. Try and find one thing a day. And the easiest way to do that is to help somebody else, but it can be, you got to help yourself too.
Okay. Yeah. I heard you say something about a board, your magnetic
dream board. I call it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I changed it out. I have my staple things on there. Usually things will happen. Sometimes I'll put something on there and I'm not as passionate about it as I think I am at the moment. And that will fade away and something else will come forward. And I'm like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to focus. So if you have a dream board and something doesn't come true or doesn't manifest for you, that's because there's something better waiting for you. And the universe will show that to us. I feel it always does. And there's a lot of times, I heard a quote one time, the number one thing people covet is how they think things should look.
Mhm.
And we create expectations. Sometimes people tell you they're going to do something and they don't do it or whatever. And so to not expect anything, but to be grateful for everything. And then whatever is meant for me comes to me, and it's better than I wanted. Like it's better than what I thought I wanted, And so there's a part of me that is even surrendered to that. Or it's sometimes you're going to get what you really want. It's just not yet.
Yes, not yet.
Mhm.
Timing. So you talked earlier about timing, and I noticed there were twos in there, like 2 months, 2 years. Are those particularly the one about the house? Did you have an expectation of that? Did you set that with your intention of the house would sell by blah blah?
Oh Lord. Yeah, I tried to sell it for 5 years, but no, no, with that thing, I did not, I wanted it as soon as possible.
Okay.
But here's the thing with this, because this isn't just about you creating what you want. This is about you becoming the person you need to be to create what you want.
Oh, that's an important statement.
Yes, that's a very important statement. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, that's being patient with the process. Because every day you're going to wake up. I woke up and wanted that house to sell. And I was grateful that house was sold for more than I owed. I was grateful that house was sold for more than I owed. I cleaned that house. I prayed over that house. I did everything I could possibly do for that house. But then it was just staying in the gratitude. Like, it's going to happen any day now. Any day now. And you felt like you're crazy, like delusional. I felt crazy and delusional, being so freaking positive. Like, but no, I'm going to stay here. During that same time, here I was in this broken relationship, and I had so much fear. Fear paralyzes. Fear is a negative vibration. Fear, shame, unbelief, doubt, all that stuff, it like weighs you down. And so here you are trying to manifest way up here, and you still got this other crap in other areas of your life weighing you down. So as I'm believing for this up here, I'm still having areas of my life that are down here, and I was waking up to that. And I was getting confidence and belief that I could get myself out of that. I was scared out of my mind. You can ask Dr. Kelly. She knew me during that time. And thank you for believing in me and seeing my soul when I couldn't see it for myself. Because I was growing and I was overcoming thoughts and fears, and I was being strategic on how to get myself out of that relationship without losing the rest of the money that I had to my name, because I was the sole provider for the family. And that was hard. And so I had to become the person that had the confidence to go and file for divorce. That's what I did. I filed for divorce. It was the day after, which once I did that, I had my, it lifted this burden off of me and this weight, because I faced my fear and I was going to get free. I didn't care anymore about the house. I just knew I had to do it. It was 24 hours that I get the phone call from the realtor that says they want to buy the house. They have a contract. And it was like, I had 1 million pounds lift with the divorce and 1 million pounds lift with the house. And I was like, oh, here it is. It's happening. You know what I mean? And I was so high on life. I can't even tell you. I was so high on life, which then you forget to manifest for the next thing you're believing for, because you're actually, that emotion that you pretended you had, you actually have. It's actually there. It's even better than you imagined. And so I had to become that person. So it's being patient with the process, and literally, as you're being patient with whatever you're waiting for, making myself go for a walk, doing healthy things, eating healthy food. I know that's silly, but unhealthy, empty calories have negative vibrations. Have a green drink, sure, have your cocktail at night, but no, alcohol is a low vibing thing. It just is. So I have
That's
to
kind of
make
why we
myself-
drink it.
Yeah, I know. I'm down. Let's have some more. Let's keep getting lower. Yeah, I know. So, but I have to make a choice every day to go on a walk, even if it's 50 degrees here, which is freezing for Florida. So I make myself do certain, not all the time, and it's not like I'm rigid with myself. I'm forgiving, and the main goal is to do what makes my soul light up. So sometimes that's easy, going on a boat ride, sure, but sometimes I need to go on a walk because I'm still being patient, waiting for this situation to come to fruition. It hasn't yet. It's a downer. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. So I'm going to go surrender this again. I'm going to go look at that sunshine. I'm going to go raise my vibes. I'm going to go let this go. I'm going to go think about what it's going to be like when this situation is behind me and I'm through it. And there comes the peace. There comes the great day. It's that. And yeah.
You said something I think is really important. You deconstructed your life. And I mean, yes, we've known each other for a long time. So I understand, I remember the struggles and the pain through that. But I think sometimes people avoid doing that. They'd rather stay where they are than to deconstruct their life. And what is the benefit of doing that?
Healing, freedom, peace, finding yourself. Power comes from it. I mean, the ultimate way to feel in control is to completely surrender. It's awesome because there's just peace. You just don't worry. With religion, the hardest part for me with that is the friendships that have changed, because I am open, I am loving, I am not judgmental. I don't think my way or the highway. I'm different. And I think it's about love. And I'm okay with it. Like, some people, I think they're afraid of love, like, because there's so much freedom in love that they think that we cannot possibly stay in control if love is the answer. Like, we have to have this, and this, And no, we really can. And I think that's been the biggest thing. But it was hard because so many people, they questioned, geez, they questioned my salvation. I'm like, we really should question yours. Like, we don't have any answers. We think we know all these answers, but we don't. And like, learning to live in the question. And a book that has helped me, actually all of his books, but Brian McLaren. And he has quite a few books out. They're great for people that are in the religious community. Doesn't matter what denomination or even what religion. Like, just, it's about religion in general. And the latest one he wrote was called "Do I Want to Stay Christian?" And in his book, he does, and he explains why. But he also gives you permission to live in the question and not have all the answers. And I love that. I love it. I love the freedom. And I still believe what I was brought up to believe when it comes to the words in red, if you will. It's funny. One of my best friends here, she's Jewish. And she's like, "What are the words in red?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know that. And I go, "But I think you'd agree with them." And she's like, "Yeah, I totally would." Like, And so having friends with different religions, different backgrounds, different skin colors, having them in my home and me go to their home, that's been part of my deconstructing process. And then if it doesn't look like love and feel like love, and if I wouldn't want it done to me, then I don't want to participate in that. You know what I mean? And so that has changed and been part of my deconstruction process. And there, there's a balance to it all. And I just try and think, how can I make this a win-win situation? be respectful for someone wherever they're on their journey, and hopefully that they return that same respect for me on my journey, because we're all at different places, and there's nothing wrong with being in the question or thinking you have all the answers. It's just wherever you're at and loving people wherever they're at.
So what has your I don't your deconstructed, reconstructed life done for your children?
Oh, first of all, we're close. All
Yeah.
three of them, real close. It's given them permission to explore and to do what feels right to their soul. It's given them permission to have relationships and ask questions and do different activities that they would have done had we lived like we lived in Tulsa when we did what we did there. The diversity, the experiences, the compassion and empathy it's given them, it's been really healthy.
And how much of your manifesting, the things you do, the journaling, the I'm responsible for, the vision boards, how much do you think they do of that themselves?
Oh, a lot, especially the oldest and youngest. The middle, he kind of has life figured out right now. He has all the answers. He's 17.
Yes.
But he still does it, and he still does it. But the other two talk to me about it more. So my oldest is in college, and he's currently looking for a part-time job. And I told him, I'm like, you know how to manifest this? I know, Mom, I know. But I can tell he's kind of like battling it. And we've also started doing a lot of the emotion code work with him, and he's the one that's the most devoured into that. But that kind of goes hand in hand with this, because it's raising your vibration, raising your energy, and you attract what you need and want. And so he's in a good place. And then my youngest one, he's going to turn 14 next week, and he probably is the most intentional about it. And I think he has a more developed gift of manifestation than the other two so far, probably because he's seen me do it so much. I mean, even going to his basketball game, I'm manifesting 20 points tonight, Mom. I'm going to get 20 points. I'm like, okay, well, he ended up getting 12, but it was still great, and I was like, keep practicing, buddy. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. So it's been great for them. And it also causes all of them to have a positive outlook.
Which, based on where they came from, had you not deconstructed your life, had you not learned what to do, their lives could have been vastly different.
Yeah. I wouldn't even want to I don't even want to think about what it could have been.
Right.
It's bad.
Yeah.
The challenges that we went through and the heartaches that we went through were the best things, because it got us to here. Mm-hmm. And it got us to have that perspective of gratitude, because we know what it's like to be in a different place without peace and without joy. I mean, life still has its ups and downs, heartaches still happen, but it's not the same magnitude of pain, if you will. There's a peace and we're going to get through this, and this too shall pass. And it's just different.
So in kind of that part is life will be different. You also, I remember the first time you told me you wanted to move to the water.
Yeah.
And how did you do that? And what you created by doing that?
Okay. So Dr. Kelly was there with our family since my boys were 4, 7, and 10. They were little when we started going to her. And she taught me a lot of things that I was blinded. I couldn't see things, and she helped me understand. And so we went through, I went through a divorce, and then everything was fine while I was paying alimony. And then the alimony ran out for him, and he decided he wanted the kids for child support. And he had never wanted them before. And I didn't mind giving him all my money, just don't hurt my babies. You know, it was just an unhealthy situation. And so there was a occurrence that happened between my oldest and his father, where my oldest just wanted a healthy boundary and to do his homework and not go to a little 3-hour visitation. And my ex-husband called the police on him. And this kid was 13 or 14, good kid, great grades, responsible. My kids they're so great. And I'm like, you're going to call the cops on your, like, what? And so they didn't come out, but it hurt my son so much. And it hurt my other sons. They witnessed the whole thing. It was just hurtful. And so I said, okay, boys, we're going to Florida. We're going to drive from Oklahoma to Florida for fall break. And I had a friend that rented me a condo for cheap. And so we were on the beach, and I mean, nobody else could drive but me. So I had driven like 14 hours that day, and we'd gone back and forth from the beach to the food truck, and then back to the beach, and then to the condo, and we're having this nice time. And the boys tell me, okay, Mom, this is so awesome. We want to move to the water. We want to move to the ocean. And I was like, well, yeah, me too. But we have this divorce decree and this joint custody thing, and I am hated by these people. Anything I wanted, like, even if I said, can you have the kid brush his teeth tonight? It was no, because I asked. Like, anything I wanted was denied, even if it was in the best interest. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. What were you saying?
Yep, I've been there.
Yeah. You witnessed it all with me too. Yeah. So that's when I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I was going through all the doubt and stuff. And about the 3rd or 4th day we were there, I got a nasty email from him, my ex. And I was like, you know what? I can do it. I want this peace, and I want to be away from that so bad. And the boys want to be away from that. And we deserve to grow up in peace. Like, I knew I didn't have forever to do that. And so at that time, they were 14, 11, and 8. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I hired another attorney. I was paying 5 attorneys, 3 counselors. I mean, I was like, I made good money, but I didn't have any because I'm paying all these people. I had just finished paying alimony and took all the marital debt. Like, I don't even know. I look back and I'm like, wow. But I put it on the dream board, and I started saying, I'm going to move to Florida. And boy, when I hired the attorney and sent the paperwork, that was like light a match and pour gasoline on this already angry situation. But I was like, no. And so then, like, it really, like, the dark stuff started really coming out, and I just kept believing. And I kept thinking, I'm going to manifest a miracle. We're going to live in Florida. It took me nearly 2 years to get out, and cost me all my dollars, but it was worth every penny. Along the way, Troy and I started dating. And so I babysit his boat while he farms in Indiana, and then he comes here as much as he can. But it's quite honestly the most perfect situation, because I'm raising my boys by my convictions, and I'm proud of them. Like, there's a lot of things I've done really messed up in life, but parenting, loving my boys and being a mom, I'm really good at it. And I'm grateful for that, because I could have really messed up, because there's a lot of areas of a lot of things I'm terrible at. Singing, math, I mean, you name it. But this one I can love, and they are so great. And so during that time, I mean, I rented out my house. We couldn't get away. Like, my ex-husband kept delaying the court process. So it literally took nearly 2 years. And during that time, we had to rent a 2-bedroom, 800, no, it was bigger than that. It was 1,100 square feet garage apartment in Bixby that we rented, and 2 bedrooms. Like, we crammed bunk beds in, and we had 1 little bathroom, a tiny kitchen, because my house had been rented out, and They wouldn't let me move to Florida, but all my stuff was in Florida because I'd already rented a house in Florida because we were told it was going to happen and then didn't. So there was all the emotional, like, it's happening, it's not, for nearly 2 years. That causes you to get weary. It really does. And it was funny because when I was putting stuff together for doing this, and I was looking back at some of my journal, my gratitude journal stuff. I'm so grateful the boys and I live in Florida. I'm so grateful that I have full custody and the boys have a peaceful environment. Like I had it all written out and it was still there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love looking at it now. Just like I love looking at my nephews and remembering before I believed and when I was negative and it was sad and dark, I had no hope. And then the hope that this gives you, it just raises the situation so you're not like wallowing in the yuck. And you, even though it's still hard and you still have days that are worse than others, you still can pull yourself out of it and have that hope. And then when it happens, it just builds your faith so much that you want to keep doing it in other areas of your life. And I think that's how we evolve and get healthier and better and more healed, and then heal our children, and then that goes forward and we just create better humans, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, I live in Florida.
I have a couple other questions, but I want to give Janice a chance to ask some of hers.
I am so mesmerized by this and by your story that you just keep talking, ask your questions. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
So back when you started this and you told us kind of that is, what do you think it was that created that shift? Because a lot of people have knowledge of what they should do. They just never implement it. I'll give you an example. I've had a couple of clients who tell me all the books they've read, all the self-help books. And I have a pretty different perspective on self-help books. I think you only need one and you need to implement the one.
Right. Yeah.
I have people who consume every book there is, they just don't apply any of it, but you applied it. So do you remember, or can you remember what that shift was? Because you had to have had a shift.
It was like turning on a light switch, on the slow kind of light switches, not the fast kind. And it was little manifestations in the beginning, little, but I started noticing it. And then I go for the big thing. And then when the big thing happened, I was like, well, this wasn't as hard as I thought. Like that kind of happened. But I had gotten myself at peace with it because the little manifestations, desperation. It wasn't a book I read. It was a place I got to. Desperation caused me to do it. When the pain got so intense and my heart was so broken that I didn't want to keep breathing on the planet. I really didn't. I stayed alive because of my kids. But after Evan died and my marriage and my sister and business and the burdens I was under, I was like, I would literally look at the time and be like, how much longer do I have to stay here? Like, this is awful. And that sounds so terrible now. I wasn't suicidal. I just didn't want to be here. It was too painful. And so it was in desperation to get peace from that pain. And as an Enneagram 4, I don't just feel my pain, but if I'm sitting next to someone in pain, even if I don't even know what it is, it's so weird. And I'll think I'm crazy, but it's not me. It's that's how I'm made. And so getting to know myself helped me too. But it was out of desperation. And so then that's all I had. That's all I had was to dream about being out of this situation into what I do want, because wallowing in self-pity was getting me nowhere.
Right. Yeah. And I was abused in my childhood, and my go-to emotion was anger. And I did not like feeling that. And I got to that point where I didn't care what I had to put myself through. I had to not feel that anymore.
Yeah.
And I put myself through a lot to heal what I needed to heal, to not be the same way.
Yeah.
So there's something that pushes you over the edge.
Pain pushes you over the edge.
And you won't go back. Okay.
Limits, personal limit. When you've hit your personal limit, then you choose to do the thing that you're afraid of doing, but you can't stay where you were or are. It's, I've hit my limit of living in pain, or I've hit my limit of living in this relationship or this job or whatever.
Yeah, you get a feeling like, if I don't do something different, I'm going to die.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to die. Like, if I did not leave Oklahoma, I would die. I knew that. If I did not, like, I told my ex-husband one time, I know I'm supposed to divorce you more than I ever thought I was supposed to marry you. Like, I knew that I knew this was not supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't just me suffering, it was our children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do things for other people sometimes that we won't do for ourselves, and particularly our children.
Right.
Yes. I believe my boys came to teach me how to love. Because and then I had to realize, well, if I don't love myself, I can't love them. I got to take care of me, or I'm not going to make it to be there for them, So that love, it was so powerful. It was the most beautiful fuel I've ever seen, just to propel you to get through whatever you have to get through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's that feeling of, if I don't change this, I'm going to just not exist. I can't.
And what shifted me over, and I remember someone shared the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh yeah, I love that one.
And I had never been exposed to quantum physics. And there's all these physicists talking about things. And I remember I was sitting in my room, and I rarely turned on the TV. And they would say something, I'd go, what? What did they say? And I would rewind, and I would listen to it again. I would rewind, because I hadn't been exposed to it. I didn't have any synaptic connections in my brain to even understand what they were talking about. And it was like, I can have a different life. I don't have to struggle. And that is the shift for me, is like, by doing some things, can shift my life to be what I want it to be.
Yeah. And not have to have pain propel you. You could just choose to do it.
Yeah. What a novel concept.
It's so much more fun to be the one that gets to decide.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And there is moments, I want to mention this. There is moments where I'll be in a situation. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was somewhere and I was like, man, I hate this. I hated where I was at. I hated what I was doing. And that's my enabling tendency, and part of how I had to deconstruct, because I was such a people pleaser. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to be here, and I don't have to do this. I can choose. And I'm like, oh yeah, like it's being aware is such a simple thing to do and be, but we get broken focus, because that's just life. I mean, that's just, I think, part of being in a human body. But when you catch it, of course, correct.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And each year I get a word where I'm like, oh, okay, that's the word for the year. And a couple of years ago, it was choose and decide. Mm-hmm. And it's never left, because we get to choose everything. We don't realize we do, but we do. And by our words and our thoughts. And it just is. Yeah.
One of my other favorite quotes is, none of us really have control, but we all have a choice. Mm-hmm. And in your choice is where you do have a little, that's where you get your control back. And that you become the rudder of the ship of your life.
And I think part of that is no one's behaviors are about you but yours. So no matter what anyone is doing, why react emotionally to it? Because it's not about you anyway. So I choose to let people act the way they want. That's not about me.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really,
it's tough though for a lot of us to get there.
Yeah.
I can remember when it was my responsibility to make someone do blah, 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 that what I wanted them to, and being able to give up that control and saying, not my circus, not my monkeys, is a big growth spurt.
It is. It is. And you have to like do it a few times before you start finding the freedom and the peace in it.
Mhm.
But then when you do, you're like, why did I care in the first place?
yeah. And it's like, why would I give my energy to that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's no,
Yeah.
All right. So another question I have is, what did you do when it seemed like it wasn't going to happen? Kind of how would you summarize that for anyone watching?
Sometimes I would have to pick up my journal again
Mhm.
and do it again.
Mhm.
And because just staying in gratitude wasn't enough and I couldn't find the feeling anymore.
Mhm.
So I don't have to rewrite it very often, but sometimes when it takes a long time, you're like, it does feel hopeless. And in that time, I asked myself, what am I supposed to learn right now? Like, and one time you said to me, it's not about what you're supposed to learn. You're waiting for somebody else to learn. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I know that guy and he's a really slow learner. Like, this is going to be forever, I remember that. But let me tell you, when it's like that, that's when you have to find joy in the mundane. That's when you go on a walk and you look at a snail.
Exactly.
And it cheers you up. And you'd be like, you know what? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then you start looking for things to be grateful for in your circumstances. And I believe what happens when I do those things is it makes these days the good old days. But it makes the next days the good old days. And the ones in front of that are going to be the good old days. Because there's something every single day that I choose. But it's a choice. I could lay in bed and watch TV all day and stare at my phone and look at shoes and not do anything and cry. I could do that. I could. I don't say I should though. There was no shoulding because should's from shame. I could, but how am I going to feel at the end of the day? Because I'm still going to be in this situation. I'm still going to have unmet expectations instead of gratitude that I don't need to be having. Or I can go on this walk. I can create joy. I can help somebody else. I can raise my kids. I can cherish this moment with them that I have. It's a choice.
I think your snail story is important because I think just as human nature, we look for the big and the grandiose instead of the small.
And the small is where the magic is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I sold my house last year and I recently moved. And the first day I took a picture, there was a little bunny in my yard. And everywhere I move, there's always a little bunny, and I love bunnies. And so I snapped it and sent it to my daughter, and she goes, they follow you wherever you are. And it's like, bunnies make me happy. And it's a small thing.
I call those God winks.
Okay.
There's a book called God Winks that I read a long time ago by Squire Rushnell, and it talks about the little tiny signs. Having having that happen is just like a confirmation. You're in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Like, because we're not alone. And this earth, I don't care what people say, it's alive. And this beautiful planet heals itself. And we're part of this. And being connected to it brings life to us. Like those little signs we're supposed to notice them. We're supposed to.
But we get up here.
Yeah.
Instead of down here, and we miss them.
Yeah. We're looking for something grandiose, and those are few and far between, and they're not always as great as we think they're going to be. Mm-hmm. But living in every single day in a moment of gratitude for something small that the little God winks, or the little signs nature gives us, or the connections we get, and having that gratitude makes beautiful lives. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes every day good. Mm-hmm. I mean, people sometimes tell me I'm too positive or I'm delusional or whatever. And I'm like, you go live your life. I'm going to live mine this way because I like it.
So when people say those kind of things to me, I say, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing.
I wouldn't want to trade with you.
Yeah. Be sure to come back for part 3 to hear Stacy share 3 keys to manifesting she used to create the life of her dreams. Thanks for subscribing to our channel.